It's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. It was announced earlier today that reigning Ring Magazine Lineal Unified Featherweight Champion Amanda Serrano will be returning to action March 2nd in the coming year in her native Puerto Rico in what is being billed as a stadium fight, El Coliseo de Puerto Rico en San Juan. Those of you that have been following the channel the last couple of weeks will have heard me say that behind the scenes, they're planning a stadium fight for Amanda Serrano. The only question was, who was it that Amanda would be facing? It appears that she's going to be facing Germany's own Nina Meinke, a southpaw like Amanda's a southpaw, experienced, though not as experienced as Amanda, and nowhere near as hard a puncher. Know that very recently, Amanda Serrano took a stand against the WBC for her right to fight for 12 3-minute rounds moving forward, 12 3-minute rounds, whereas the WBC, they don't want to sanction a women's boxing match for that extended period of time. Thus, Amanda ended up vacating the green belt, vacating the WBC title, and now Skye Nicholson will be facing former champion Sarah Mahfoud for it in the coming year. Their fight has been ordered. They're going to be doing their own thing, and Amanda, she's going to be doing hers. Opposite the ring, Germany's own Nina Meinke, Nina the Brave. Sports a professional record of 18 wins with 3 losses, no draws, 4 knockouts, having been knocked out just once in 21 professional bouts. That lone knockout loss came at the hands of Katie Taylor many, many years ago. Common opponent for Nina and Amanda. Amanda, who sports a professional record of 46 wins with 2 losses, 1 draw, 30 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 49 professional bouts. This bout is more about the occasion. It's more about giving Amanda a homecoming fight in front of her native fans in the island of Puerto Rico. That's what it's about. Nina Meinke, God bless her, she would be a great opponent option for a fighter like a Karis Artingstall or a Raven Chapman, a Skye Nicholson, because she's more experienced as a professional than those fighters. She would be an adequate choice for them, but for Amanda, she's just not on Amanda's level in any capacity, in any way, shape, or form. So in all likelihood, Amanda's going to blow her out of the water. She's going to blow her out. If she doesn't stop her, she's going to win a wide points decision. You have to remember that this fight is going to be for 12 3-minute rounds. Nina Meinke is not used to that, but because Amanda Serrano is insistent on fighting for that duration of time moving forward, Nina is subject to Amanda's demands, and I don't know that Nina can last that long with a volume puncher and a strong puncher like Amanda Serrano. Nina Meinke, who's been busy the last 2 years, keeping herself busy, which is smart. Her handlers have done a fantastic job of keeping her active, keeping her busy the last 2 years or so. She fought 4 times last year and 4 more this one. She's 6 for 6 in her last 6. Nina started off last year with that fight against then-champion Sarah Mahfoud. She dropped a decision in Sarah's native Denmark, but she has since rebounded and won 6 consecutive fights since then. So she will be sharp, and she ain't got no ring rust that she needs to shake off. Though, as stated, she doesn't have Amanda Serrano's work rate or firepower. Nina Meinke is a good little serviceable fighter, but she's just not in Amanda's league. So in all likelihood, Amanda's going to blow her out the same way she blew out Danila Ramos. It's going to be one-sided, but Amanda wants to put on a show for the hometown fans, her fans in her native Puerto Rico. Her manager and good friend, Jake Paul, will be boxing in the co-feature, the co-main event. He's coming off a highlight reel knockout in his last fight, and we'll see if he can't add another one. See if he can't rack up another one in his next fight. And as stated, this entire event is centered around giving Amanda a homecoming fight, treating her fans on the island of Puerto Rico to one of her bouts. It's really the selling point. It's not about Nina Meinke. It's more of a celebration of Amanda Serrano and her career. Now, I expect that Amanda's going to take care of business against Nina, and Skye Nicholson, she will be boxing Sarah Mahfoud for the vacant WBC title. If Skye Nicholson wins the green belt and becomes WBC champion, I vaguely recall hearing that she's going to keep pursuing a fight with Amanda, and we'll see if she does. That's the latest when it comes to Amanda. In men's super middleweight news, on the heels of his dominant knockout victory over Demetrius Andre, David Benavidez says, "I don't think I've done enough to make it on the pound-for-pound list, but I will definitely get there." Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But I don't think beating Demetrius Andre is enough to rank him as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport. I don't. Like I said, I want to be humble in victory too, Benavidez stated. I don't think I've done enough to make it on the pound-for-pound list, but I will definitely get there. The Phoenix native isn't listed among the top 10 by BoxingScene.com, ESPN.com, or the Ring magazine. Benavidez has nevertheless developed into must-see TV because the Mexican monster is an all-action, relentless pressure fighter whose fan-friendly style has made him popular among boxing diehards.
The pound-for-pound list is all about skill.
And as many times, for as many years, and as many videos as I've said that here on the channel, it still escapes people that David Benavidez pummeling Demetrius Andrade, who was so obviously the naturally smaller man, that's not a testament to David's skill, that's a testament to David's size, that he was too big and too strong for Demetrius Andrade, and it was a great victory, a dominant victory, but it's hardly a testament to David's skills. What that fight really proved is that Demetrius can't hack it as a super middleweight, that David was simply too big and too strong for him. I think what this victory shows, Benavidez says, I mean, a lot of people said he was going to be too much, do this, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I know how to go in there, and I know how to get the victory. I know how to find the victory, you know what I mean? And I think that, it lets people know that I'm very dangerous, It's not just one style I fight in, there's more, multiple styles I fight in.
Huh?
And I can break fighters down, I can break boxers down, I can break power punchers down. It doesn't matter to me. And what power punchers has David Benavidez fought? Because Demetrius is a pure boxer and a light puncher. Demetrius has never been known for power. Neither has Caleb Plant. And those are the last two guys David fought.
What punchers has he ever fought? And to what other base styles is he referring to? Because for the most part, he goes in there fight by fight doing the same thing. Throwing punches and bunches and wearing the other man down. Nothing against him, but much doesn't change about David from one fight to the next.
It's nothing against pressure fighters. Pressure fighters make for must-see TV. But for David to say that he's got different styles, yeah, I've never seen him use a different style aside from mid-range to inside pressure fighting. And that works for him because he's got the size to do it. He's got the size to do it as a super middleweight. I feel like to rank him on the pound-for-pound list, he would have to move up in weight and try that same stuff as a light heavyweight and see if it still works. If it does, then he would have a legitimate claim towards being one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport. But for years now, David has made it clear that he's not moving up to 175 anytime soon.
I ain't got no hair on my tongue. This guy's been sitting there at 168 for all these years because he knows at light heavyweight you won't have a size advantage or a power advantage over those guys up there. At super middleweight you're big and strong, at super middleweight you're a concussive puncher, but at light heavy...
If David tried to run down Artur Beterbiev like he ran down Caleb Plant, like he ran down Demetrius Andrade, Artur's got a lot more firepower. He can give you a lot more to think about than those fighters can.
And what about Dimitri Bivol? On more than one occasion now, David Benavidez has said that he would beat Dimitri Bivol based on sparring sessions they had some time ago. To that,
Dimitri Bivol has responded to those comments by saying Canelo is the king of 168, and he also says David never beat him up in sparring. Only idiots believe sparring equates to a real fight. What happened to Serrano when he had the better of Bivol in a sparring session? We talked about that. It was rumored that Serrano Ramirez got the best of Dimitri Bivol in sparring in San Diego some years ago. But when they actually fought under the hot lights, Serrano was never in that fight. Serrano got dominated. So when I hear about these sparring sessions about David and Dimitri...
I think Dimitri would dominate David. I think David is too simple, too basic.
And I think that PBC fighters, more than any other fighter with any other outfit, they like to bring up these old sparring sessions to discredit their contemporaries. Like when they brought up Rolly's sparring session with Ryan or Erickson Lubin's sparring session with Edgar Berlanga.
They do that a lot, and they do it to discredit their contemporaries.
Trying to discredit Dimitri Bivol, that's what David's trying to do. Dimitri Bivol, who says, if Canelo wants a rematch, okay, but I didn't want it so much. I have my own way. If Dimitri takes care of business this weekend on the Day of Reckoning card, he's slated to be facing the winner of Callum Smith versus Artur Beterbiev in the undisputed light heavyweight title fight. I think he's more focused on that than giving Canelo a rematch.
I think we all are.
To be honest, I didn't want a rematch too much, Bivol told BoxingScene.com. I was enjoying my position. If he wants the rematch, okay, I told him, okay, we can make it, but I didn't want it so much, you know? I have my own way. If not Canelo, I have another way. No problem. Bivol realizes that Alvarez could eventually make a rematch worth his while. Canelo has more chances than the other fighters in boxing, Bivol said. If Canelo wants some fight, he can make this fight. He has more of a chance to influence the situation than other boxers.
Yeah, but being honest with you, as a consumer, as a boxing fan, I don't actually want to see Canelo versus Bivol 2. I think Dimitri beat him comprehensively, he beat him decisively, and there's no need for a second fight. I would rather see Canelo fight David Benavidez and Dimitri fight Artur.
There's really no point in a second fight, though. What I will say is, Dimitri Bivol has been on the bench most of this year. He's only now returning to action this weekend, approximately over a year's time since his last fight. And for all of David's claims that he could move up in weight and beat Dimitri Bivol, you had your chance because this guy was free this whole year. If you really wanted to put the pedal to the metal and put your money where your mouth is, why didn't you reach out to him? A fight between David and Dimitri would have been bigger than the Caleb Plant fight or the Demetrius Andrade fight.
Let's not pretend we can't see the angling here. You fought a guy that Canelo Alvarez knocked out. You fought a guy that Canelo beat over a year ago when you could have fought the man that beat Canelo. You could have fought Dimitri. For sitting around talking about sparring sessions from however long ago, why didn't you just make the fight?
Neither of those pay-per-views that David was in sold all that much, and PBC fighters have a bad habit of discrediting other fighters by talking about sparring sessions. I remember an era where sparring sessions were sacred. What happens in the gym stays in the gym, but these days, a lot of these PBC guys like to discredit other fighters by leaking sparring footage and talking about what happened in sparring. Nothing is sacred.
Sparring isn't actually fighting. Sparring is working on things. You're not fighting full stop. You're not fighting at full intensity, but the fight fans, they don't understand that.
And for sitting around talking about sparring sessions from however long ago, why didn't you try to make a fight with that guy? He was free most of this year. Fighting Dimitri would have been more of a statement than fighting a light-punching Demetrius Andrade in his mid-30s. Now, David Morrell, rather David's promoter, David Morrell, David Benavidez's PBC stablemate, David's promoter said, "I saw the fear in Benavidez. He can't hide no more. Quit fighting 154-pounders," referencing Demetrius Andrade, who campaigned as a junior middleweight for some time before moving up to middleweight and subsequently super middleweight. "I first want to say that they called us out first," Takuba said. "They've been calling us out for years. Then after we said we wanted that fight, okay, Benavidez's father started going back and forth. We had the deal made for November. He was supposed to come in the ring when Morrell knocked out Falcao. He never did. He hid. He ran away, okay? I've been in boxing for 40 years. I saw in his eyes. I saw the fear, you know? Now we're ready. Now he can't hide no more. You know, I know what your mentality is. You get the Canelo fight, God bless you. If you don't get it, there's nobody else to fight. Quit fighting 154-pounders, man. You know, David Lemieux's a 154-pounder. Andrade's a 154-pounder. Kyron Davis, you saw him fight tonight. He's a small guy, you know? They've been getting him small guys. Morrell is a full-fledged super middleweight.
He is.
David Lemieux, he used to campaign as a middleweight. Demetrius Andrade, he used to campaign as a junior middleweight. You can see what the matchmaking is, the angle. They're getting guys for David Benavidez that are naturally smaller and can't hurt him. These are not full-fledged super middleweights. David Morrell is. A bit of transparency from Team Morrell. More than once, they've admitted that they were approached by Team Benavidez back when David Morrell had a lot less fights than he has now. I think he was only 5-0 when they first approached him. And at that time, Team Morrell, they didn't want to take that fight. I don't blame them.
He was only 5-0 at that time. I think he's 10-0 now.
Irrespective of who you favor to win, whether it's David Benavidez or David Morrell, what you have to consider is while David Benavidez has his heart set on a Canelo Alvarez fight, Canelo might not fight him in May. And if he doesn't, who is David Benavidez going to keep busy with? Who is he going to fight? As big as he is, he can't afford to sit on the shelf waiting by the phone, waiting for it to ring, because then making the weight will become that much more difficult. He has to get out there and he has to fight. But he's running out of options. David Morrell, he's right there on his side of things.
He's a PBC fighter, the same as David Benavidez. Not that expensive. The fight should be relatively easy to make.
If he doesn't fight Canelo, everybody in boxing wants to see this fight that Cuba said regarding Benavidez versus Morrell. The fans aren't stupid. They know this is the guy. Just read the comments. The people that are paying to watch the fights, 80% of the people got this guy as the winner versus Benavidez. Why do you guys think they're avoiding us? Because they know. Because they're afraid. I'll go up to 175 and fight Bivol. That's what Benavidez said, but he hasn't done it.
Allow me to state the obvious. Even though David Morrell doesn't have as many professional bouts as Caleb Plant, as Demetrius Andrade, what he has that they don't is power, stopping power. He's coming off yet another knockout win over Igbeko this past.
You've got that Amazon Prime deal coming up next year, and you need fights that move the needle. You need fights that grab people's attention. And David Benavidez versus some ham and egger for an $80 price point on pay-per-view, that simply won't do. If you insist on charging people $80 to see this guy fight, he better fight somebody good. And David Morrell is good. David Morrell, who's right there. You know, we fast-tracked him real fast, Cuba said. Nobody's ever done what he's done, you know, with 10 professional fights. He's in the same breath as Canelo, you know, Benavidez. People talk. Hey, he can beat Benavidez. Most of the comments say he can beat Benavidez. 80% of the comments of the fans, not me. And what David Morrell brings to the table that you must consider is even though he has a lot less fights than David Benavidez and a lot less rounds in the bank, a lot less experience, he has stopping power. He's a puncher. Contrary to what David Benavidez would have you believe, he's never fought a puncher.
There's a reason for that. I look at David Morrell's stopping power, his shot selection. I see a guy who could possibly hurt David Benavidez
Because David's killing himself to make that weight. He's been at super middleweight far too long. Consider that the first time he won the WBC title was what, 6-7 years ago? In 2016?
Think about that duration of time. Consider that in that time, Terrence Crawford has become an undisputed champion not once, but twice.
Alexander Usyk saw himself become an undisputed champion and a unified 2-division champion overall in that duration of time. When you consider how long David Benavidez has been campaigning as a super middleweight and he hasn't fought a puncher yet, there's a reason for that.
Naturally, smaller guys like David Lemieux, light punches like Caleb Plant and Demetrius Andrade, they can't expose that David is killing himself to make that weight because they ain't got power. David Morrell does.
And I ain't trying to sell it to you. I'm not telling you that David Morrell hails the moon and the stars. I'm just saying that David Morrell would be a sharp deviation from the kind of guys that David Benavidez normally fights, because he normally fights naturally smaller fighters or light punchers, and David Morrell is none of those things.
So who does David Benavidez fight in the first or second quarter of next year, if not David Morrell? He's running out of options.
Might have to bite the bullet if he doesn't want to sit on the shelf collecting dust and ring rust.